Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
It's very difficult to carry the momentum of the season into a game that's this far off. So I think we got to kind of look at it like we're, starting over.
So apparently it's a new season and just in time for a new edition of Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and once again tonight from Buffalo Rock, Pepsi Max, love that sound, Max Taste, zero sugar. That's a combination I think we all can agree is a good one. Very, very good. Pick up some Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, starting over, but with the same offensive coordinator, Lane Kiffin will coach through the college football playoffs for Alabama, but then he'll go on to be the head coach at Florida Atlantic. But we already know Kiffin's replacement for next season. It's Steve Sarkisian, who's been with the program most of the season as an offensive analyst. The former Washington and Southern Cal head coach will lead the Tide offense as soon as this season ends.
I got all the confidence in the world in him. I know he's a great offensive minded. He'll be able to do some things, on offense, and we'll be pretty effective. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
He's got great track record and has done a really, really good job wherever he's been. Whether it was the coordinator at Southern Cal or the quarterback coach, he's got a history of developing quarterbacks as well as being a very good play caller and a well-organized, good designer of offense. He's been here with us all fall and done a really good job, so that makes the transition, a lot easier. And I wouldn't have anybody in this organization that I didn't have total faith, trust, and confidence in that they would do a good job with our players. This guy's a part of our family now. We're going to support and help him be successful every way we can. That's in his life as well as a coach.
Rodney, the former Southern Cal head coach, offensive coordinator theme for the University of Alabama is alive and well. Kiffin leaves. Sarkisian will replace him. Your thoughts on Steve Sarkisian being named the new offensive coordinator at UA?
Yeah, I think when you lose a guy the caliber of Lane Kiffin, it's always difficult to replace someone like that. But when you're talking about a guy that has the same kind of reputation, Steve Sarkisian's that guy. I mean, Gary, I think it's from a offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, play caller, it's a home run hire. Not only that, he's an outstanding recruiter. He has a great reputation. And I think this is a tremendous opportunity for him to kind of get his career rolling in the right direction again, and I think he'll take advantage of it.
All right. He did a great job at Washington, 5 seasons there. He took over that program when they were at bottom of the barrel and really built them up. And the program that Chris Peterson took over was in good shape, and now they're playing Alabama in the college football playoff. At USC, nobody had any quarrels with the job he was doing on the field. Substance abuse, it's serious. A lot of people deal with it. An alcoholism program is a problem is what cost him his job at USC. Any concerns that you have as far as his ability to stay on the straight and narrow here at Alabama?
Well, first of all, I think the person that just spoke, Nick Saban, he knows better than any of us because he's dealt with him on a daily basis. He's had him in here since early September. He knows what the situation is. So he spoke, and he certainly would be the one that's making that hire. He's putting himself out on a limb by making this hire. So if he feels comfortable with it, I would think that everyone else should kind of go along with that and have confidence in this hire.
And everything Saban does, he lays out everything that someone needs to do when they're in his organization. So as long as Sarkisian does that, as you said, there's no doubting his football mind. He's a terrific offensive coach. Well, on Friday, Coach Saban called out some Alabama fans who he feels like are already overlooking Washington. Saban talked about the many challenges the Huskies present, especially the offense, led by sophomore quarterback Jake Browning. Washington is one of the top offenses in the country, and according to Saban, it's the best team Alabama will have faced this year.
They're a good offense, Jake Browning. I mean, he's a great quarterback. You have John Ross at receiver, explosive. They like to run a lot of misdirection and trick plays, so things we got to be ready for, but we'll be ready and we'll be prepared for it.
These guys are really, really well balanced offensively. Got a really good scheme on offense. They have a lot of RPOs. They have some really good skill guys. The quarterback does a really good job of implementing their offense. And when they can run the ball on people and create balance, they have a really difficult system and scheme to defend.
Rod, I want to hear your analysis of the Washington offense in a second, but first, let's hear from the quarterback of the Huskies, Jake Browning, taking over, talking this past weekend about that stout Alabama defense, particularly the front four.
The front seven and the front four, they've been able to get pressure with four, and that's kind of, as a quarterback, you've got 7 people dropping into protection, and you have pressure, so, usually teams have to blitz to get pressure, so I think that's helping. I think they have really good ball skills. And, they stand out even more because, when they do pick a ball off or whatever, they're trying to score. They're not looking to go down.
All right, before we get to the Washington offense, this was at practice today. You see Keith Holcomb there on the field in some obvious pain, Rodney. He was helped off the field with an apparent leg injury during the media viewing period. We don't know anything yet. Coach Saban will talk to reporters tomorrow, but we do know this. The tide is already thin at inside linebacker, so you hope that Holcomb's going to be okay, obviously.
Yeah, obviously with Sean Deion Hamilton going down in the SEC championship game, you felt like Keith Holcomb would have a great opportunity certainly to possibly play more than what we've seen him play in the past, Gary, and they need that depth. So hopefully it's nothing serious.
Yeah, certainly we'll keep our fingers crossed that Keith Holcomb's going to be okay. All right, now to that Washington offense. Alabama's defense is the best in the country, but this offense is going to present some issues. They've got a quarterback that's thrown more than 40 touchdown passes. They've got John Ross, maybe the best wide receiver in the country. They got 2 really good running backs, an offensive line that has been pretty good. They're young up front with some of those offensive linemen, but they can score a lot of points, and they can score a lot of points using a lot of different guys. Kind of like Alabama. They can hurt you a lot of different ways.
Yeah, they can, Gary. They spread the ball around. You mentioned those running backs. I think they've gone for over 2,000 yards. When you combine them together, there you see the athletic ability in the open field right there. And then John Ross, you saw him earlier, number 1. He's an outstanding playmaker, both as a receiver and as a kick returner. And I really like Jake Browning, their quarterback. He's a cool guy. I think when you look at him, Gary, his ability to scramble around and make plays, and sometimes you think you've got him, and then he gets outside and he gets on the run and he finds guys and keeps his eyes down the field. So there you see him there, making a play. He's dangerous.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And maybe he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's very accurate and throws a really catchable ball. Look how soft that ball fell in there to the hands of the receiver.
Yeah, again, I just think he's a really outstanding quarterback. He's a really calm, cool type guy, so he continues to make plays even when you get pressure on him. Now, I will say this. There have been some teams. USC got some pressure on him. I think Alabama can get some pressure, but that Chris Peterson's going to design some things that's going to be able to try to slow down or negate Alabama's rush, and we talked about last week about all the trick plays they use, so certainly you can expect some of those.
And recruiting fans out there might remember that Browning and Jonah Williams, Alabama's offensive tackle, high school teammates.
They really
in
are.
California. Yeah. So they know each other well. Still to come on Tider Insider Television, hear why one local athlete said it's a no-brainer when it comes to signing with the Crimson Tide, and he'll enroll early. You'll want to hear these comments. And one of the many talented early enrollees that we'll talk about as far as this class is concerned is that young man and several others. Getting in January gives you a big head start now. A lot of players are doing it. We'll have that story for you coming up. And we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the number on the screen as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. There's the email address, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV. Will return after this. Kyrie McDonald of James Clemens High School in North Alabama officially signed his Alabama financial aid agreement in a ceremony at the school last week. The defensive back commitment will enroll early, and he said his decision to choose the Tide was a no-brainer.
This right here, where legends are made. If Nick Saban invited you to a private practice and offered you, how could you say no to Nick Saban, honestly? You're getting coached by the best. It's a dream of mine to play for Nick Saban himself.
I tell you what, he kind of said it all. And it is hard for high school prospects to say no to Nick Saban. That's why Alabama consistently has the top recruiting class in the country.
And it's some of these guys, though, Gary, believe it or not, are intimidated by that opportunity. He never was. He certainly committed early, stuck with it. He's an outstanding player.
Yeah, he's fired back. He's fired up. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV. Gary Harris, Rodney Orr. McDonald will join the Tide in January among an impressive group of early enrollees. Players like Jerry Jeudy, Alex Leatherwood, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dylan Moses are all expected to be in Tuscaloosa in the next couple of weeks, and possibly Najee Harris. We're going to talk about him in a moment. But last year we saw Jalen Hurts and Jonah Williams arrive early, and both have made major impacts for the Alabama offense this year. How good is this group of early enrollees, Rodney? It looks like it's a pretty good group coming up in January as well.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, like you said, we'll know more about them when they get here and kind of get on campus and get to rolling. Last year was really big with those guys that came in, Tua Tagovailoa. Certainly with the quarterback situation as it's going to be with David Cornwell leaving, Cooper Bateman leaving. They really need somebody to get in here and kind of get acclimated to what's going on. And Tua is going to be here and have an opportunity to do that.
All right, we're still waiting on the final word of Najee Harris. The longtime Alabama commitment is still being pursued hard by Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. They just won't let go. He's scheduled to be an early enrollee. You still feel good about Alabama here?
I do. Right now, I know that Michigan thinks they've got a great shot. You listen to some Michigan people, they think they're going to flip Najee Harris. But, talking to as many people as I possibly can, I don't really get that impression. I don't think he's sending that vibe to Tuscaloosa right now. Now, again, he may end up at Michigan, but indications, I think, in the vibes he's sending is he plans to stick to his commitment, but we'll see.
Yeah, he is a spectacular talent. Well, coming up next, we'll hear from Avery Johnson after a tough loss to Clemson on Sunday in Birmingham. Plus, we'll take your phone calls, emails, and tweets. And let me tell you, phone lines are open. That's rare, but they're open right now. So if you want to get through, give us a call at 205-348-9882. We'll get you on. More Tighter Insider TV coming up after this timeout. The up-and-down Alabama men's basketball team was up on Thursday, a 17-point win at Coleman Coliseum against USC Upstate, and then down on Sunday, a 13-point loss to Clemson at the Legacy Arena at the BJCC in Birmingham. Clemson jumped out on the Tide in the first half and never looked back. Alabama made a couple of runs, but this one was a double-digit loss, Clemson taking it 67-54.
Our guys started dropping their heads too much. I've been talking to them a lot about adversity. Life is not always perfect. We miss a shot, then we drop our head. We turn the ball over. We drop our head, we don't get back on defense. That's not the type of professionalism that we want on the floor.
And Alabama at 5-5 returns to the court tomorrow night at 8 o'clock in Huntsville in the Rocket City Classic against Arkansas State. We're back here on TITV. Let's head to the phone lines. First up tonight is Harold over in Anniston. Hey, Harold.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Very well.
Hey, man, I'll give a shout out here to a couple things. Hey, the pickup of Isaiah Buggs, man, big pickup, and I want to say a congratulations to the women's basketball team, man. They're rolling. My question to y'all is, man, I love Coach Avery Johnson, man. I watched a little bit of the Clemson game, man. It was just hard to watch there, man, a 10-minute stretch with no baskets and 6 or 7 turnovers. My question to y'all is, man, what do y'all think it's going to really take, man, to get this thing rolling again like Wimp Sanderson had it going?
Time. That's all I can tell you, Harold. I know a lot of fans don't want to hear it because they really get excited. You bring in a couple of players, Braxton Key, a couple of graduate transfers, and you think it's going to happen all at once. But, he's coaching them hard. I think that this roster has a few guys that are going to be really good players. But for the most part, and I know fans don't want to hear this, they just aren't good enough. They just don't have as good of players as they need to have to get to where you're talking about them going. I think next year, one more recruiting class with some of the guys he's got coming in, they're going to be better. But the reality this year, in my opinion, is they've got too many guys that are just complementary type players. And I don't mean that disrespectfully because Avery will tell you they're all great kids, but you got to have more players on your roster that are capable of scoring the basketball, and they really don't have a lot of scorers. It's just the truth.
Yeah. Harold, I think, what Gary said is exactly right in terms of the time. I mean, certainly he did not inherit the program that maybe Wimp Sanderson did. That was a program that had some really good players and at that time. And I think when you look now at this Avery Johnson, what he's taken over, it is going to take time. It is going to take this recruiting class coming in where he got, 5 really good players. I mean, these guys are outstanding prospects, and I think they're all very highly regarded. And I think by the time they get acclimated, you'll start to see things turn around.
And I'm not giving up on this season, Harold. I don't want you to get that impression. The SEC is not very good again, in my opinion. I mean, obviously Kentucky and South Carolina looks like they're really good. Maybe a couple. For the most part, Alabama can beat these teams in the SEC. So I'm not giving up, but I'm just being honest with you. I think they got to get more players in here before they're really going to be good. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Jane. Jane, you're next up. What's going on?
Hi, how are y'all?
Very well.
Yes, I have 2 questions. My first question is Tim Williams, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Hootie Jones, are they going to the NFL? And my second question is, why didn't they pick Jalen Hurts for the Heisman Trophy?
All right. First of all, Tim Williams is eligible for the draft. He's a senior. He's going to the draft. He could wind up in the Senior Bowl. Mika Fitzpatrick's a second-year sophomore. He's not eligible. Hootie Jones is a third-year sophomore. He is eligible for the draft. Don't think he's going. I think he'll be back at Alabama. Jalen Hurts is a great player, okay? He's a true freshman. He shouldn't have won the Heisman Trophy, okay? That's why he didn't get picked, all right? He's a really good player, had a really good year. He did not deserve to win the Heisman Trophy as a freshman.
But I tell you what,
he could be in the future.
He won some impressive honors.
He did. SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, when you're talking about that, and again, I know things are a little bit different now. I think Herschel Walker was the SEC Player of the Year at that time, but, you know, Offensive Player of the Year is kind of equivalent to that. And I think, you know, who would have thought a true freshman quarterback would have had the accomplishments that Jalen Hurts has had this year. And I think, you know, some people have named him the National Freshman of the Year. So there's no doubt, Jane, that he is going to be an outstanding player.
I do think Alabama deserved to have a Heisman finalist, Jonathan Allen.
I'd agree.
And Lamar Jackson's a worthy winner, Deshaun Watson second. As you just said, all the great things Hurts has done and is going to do, but he should not have been in the Heisman contention this year. And that's why he wasn't, Jane. But he's going to be there in the years to come. All right, let's go to Brent and talk to Rick. Rick, welcome into the program.
How are y'all tonight?
Very well.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Rick.
I was just wondering, was Lane Kiffin forced to leave because he did take a $400,000 pay cut?
You know, it doesn't really matter, does it, Rick? I mean, he's got a head job. Nick Saban's wished him well. I don't know that I would say forced to leave. I don't know that. You know, I do know Rodney and I talked to people. We have said all along that we felt like this was going to be his last year in Tuscaloosa for whatever reason. And I'm happy for him. And I think he's happy to be a head coach again. I think Nick Saban's happy for him. And now he's going to coach through this playoff, hopefully to a national championship. So that's really all that matters is everybody's happy. And this is a real good situation for everybody involved, I think.
And Rick's heard the speculation, just like everyone has. But like Gary said, I would agree with that. I think when you look at Lane Kiffin, this was a time when you thought that he was going to have an opportunity at the end of this year with all of his accomplishments to have a head coaching job once again. And, you know, something came available that, you know, that was offered to him, and he took it. And I think it's a great opportunity for him to get his head coaching career rolling again. And
contrary to what people have said, I think this FAU is a good opportunity for him. In a good conference like Conference USA, I think a conference that once he gets some quality players in there, he can be a factor.
Well, and he's going to get some quality players. He has already gotten DeAndre Johnson, a quarterback that was at Florida State. So he's going to get some other top players that have already been at other schools, transfers. He'll do a good job.
All right, still to come, an update on the Alabama women's basketball team. They're coming off another strong week. And more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Once again, there's the information on the screen. 205-348-9882 is the number. Phone lines are open, so call in now. We'll be back with more TITV right after this break. The Bama women's basketball team is rolling 10-1 after 3 straight wins after their only loss to Georgetown on the road. Bama came back to Tuscaloosa, beat Georgia State on Thursday, followed that up with a win against Georgia Tech on Saturday. Then last night down in Niceville, Florida, took down McNeese State in the Patrick Harrington Classic. They play UTEP tonight. Alabama is playing really, really well, and that's good to see. All right, let's head right back to the phone lines. Let's go. Let's keep it here in Tuscaloosa and talk to David. David, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing road tide?
All right, David.
I was just wondering if y'all know what's going on with Jacob Coker, and if maybe y'all could talk a little bit more about that Hawaiian quarterback we're getting, and I'll just hang up and listen.
All right, David. Jake Coker, you know, was in camp with the Arizona Cardinals. Bruce Arians, former Alabama assistant head coach there, Freddie Kitchens, offensive assistant there, played at Alabama, didn't make it. I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know if he's at home in Mobile. My guess is he's still working out, hoping to get another crack at professional football. But as of right now, he's not on any roster or practice squad as far as I know.
Yeah. And Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback out of Hawaii, out of Honolulu, for people that don't know, same high school as Marcus Mariota, the outstanding former quarterback of Oregon, now the NFL quarterback. And, you know, he's a tremendous talent. He's a left-handed quarterback. Alabama hasn't had one of those in a while since when? David Smith in the late 80s, I guess, Gary. You know, he's a really talented guy. He's a guy that's multi-dimensional. He can run a little bit, and he is an outstanding passer, very accurate, very strong arm. He's got a lot of tools. And I tell you, though, what might be the best thing about him is this guy is a leader. You know, we talk about Jalen Hurts' leadership. He's a lot like Jalen in that regard. He is a very strong leader.
All right. Thanks for the phone call, David. Let's go to Gadsden and talk with Carl. Carl, you're next up. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, yeah, I heard about the recruiting thing, man, about Najee Harris, man. I saw where his mom came out and said a lot of that stuff was nonsense. I wanted to ask y'all though about Alex Leatherwood, man. Had heard some stuff about him wavering. Do y'all think he's gonna make it and come on in as any more high-profile recruits that are wavering a little bit?
All right, I think a lot of them waver, because they get so much pressure. As far as Najee Harris, his mother really likes Tosh LaPoy at Alabama, Rodney. I think he's going to wind up signing with Alabama. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's where he'll wind up despite all the pressure from Michigan.
Yeah, and I think Alex Leatherwood is I think he's safe in terms of his commitment to Alabama. I think he's going to enroll early, and he'll be here fairly soon next semester. And he's a tremendous talent as an offensive tackle. As far as other guys that are wavering, I really don't, off the top of my head, Carl, know of any that would be alarming at this point. But I'll say this, Alabama has got several big-time prospects that I think, Gary, are giving strong indications that their plans are to come to Alabama. So stay tuned, because I think Alabama's going to finish with a flurry.
All right, thanks for all the phone calls tonight. We've got to get to our break. We'll be back to wrap up TITV right after this.
And the winner is Alabama.
Professional golfer Jordan Spieth teaming up with AT&T to pick the college football national champion. Of course, he's a big Texas fan, big college football fan. He says it's going to be the Tide that takes it over Ohio State. We shall see. As always, tonight, our beautiful shirts and ties provided by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original Elephant Wear. Get by and see them in person or shop online at locker-room.biz. You'll be glad that you did. Well, it's the third Tuesday of the month. That means it's time for us to head over to Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport tonight. So come join us for a holiday dinner, and we'll also talk some football with you. And don't forget, if you missed the show tonight, we'll have a replay at 10:30, or you can catch it online anytime at WVUA23.com. For Rodney, I'm Gary. Good night.